calm down, children. I know all about the actual firing of Phil Jackson. Don't think I haven't heard. Gosh, if my Instagram was buzzing, my goodness, it would really be going off right about now. But let's look at everything in particular so that we could address this, whatever this is. Phil Jackson was fired, and there's nobody needs to celebrate a person's being fired, but it's Phil Jackson, so nobody really cared. He walks away with over $50 million, or at least 48 million. So they have to pay him $48 million. Now, Dolan's thinking, if I'm going to lose somebody, instead of losing Carmelo Anthony, who I know what he can do, maybe Phil isn't the guy we need. Can't bring both back. One has to go. New York needs some type of yay moment. And going in another direction, I think, was key for the Knicks. And it was very evident because they were very adamant about keeping Phil Jackson. But I think what was the nail in the coffin was the actual draft. When they had their draft, I think a lot of people were like, what in the world did Phil decide to do? And I mean, when the draft started and they got the guy from France and everyone looked at the Knicks, what they could have had, and it just like shocked everyone. So, okay, something just popped on my screen. Sorry about that. But when the draft came and you had Dennis Smith there, you had Malik Monk, who everybody wanted to go to the New York Knicks. They didn't settle on Malik Monk or Dennis Smith. And Porzingis is staying, looks like now. He wasn't happy with Phil. He was getting ready to get out of the situation. But they draft a guy named Frank uh, Nalikina or whatever. You know how bad I am with names. Linkina or whatever. So everyone thinks that he's going to be okay. But he's 18 years old. And he'll have a long way to go playing with these guys here. I understand going for more of the international thing because they got another guy, a point guard from Serbia, in the second round. He went with Jermaz or whatever, Orangine Jermaz from Serbia. You got the guy Dotson, the shooting guard from the University of Houston. And a lot of people are like, what in the world is the Knicks doing? Not really satisfied with this draft, leaving people confused, not taking the players that may turn this team around. Phil Jackson was all but done right then and there. He was done. And nobody was going to be able to dig him out of the ditch. So where does the Knicks go from here? That's very interesting. The Knicks always will have a mountain to climb, but they're in a division that they really should be winning every season. I mean, the Knicks division isn't hard. When anybody who got the 76ers in their division, it's not hard. You're on the East. The Bulls are going to be headed to the cellar. If you can't beat the Bulls, I don't know what to tell you. The Bulls are about cheap labor, so that's what they're getting out of the deal. The Knicks should be able to contend. You got enough players to get the job done, but you got players that's playing out of position. Now that Phil's gone, all this trying to force Carmelo out of New York thing is just not going to work. Porzingis don't like it. It's too bad. He's got to play, and that's just the way it is. So you're under contract. Honor your contract. But I can't see the Knicks being any worse. What were they? 80 and 166 under Phil Jackson? Any other GM would have probably been fired a long time ago. They wouldn't have got another year. But I'm glad people saw this because I told this about people and Phil Jackson. Had he been in charge to run the Lakers, if Jenny Buss put him in charge of the Lakers, Phil Jackson is not a GM. He wasn't a coach. He was a life coach. He could manage personalities. That was his strength as a coach, is that I could take talented players and get them to work together for the betterment of the team to win the games. I know you don't like him, but for 48 minutes, I need you to work with the guy. I need you to be able to communicate and do your part. I know you don't like him. Then you have the other element of the situation. Phil Jackson never wanted to be the general manager of the New York Knicks. Phil Jackson never signed up for that job. He came over to be the head coach for the New York Knicks. They said, no, we want you to be the general manager. He just wanted to coach. But he also didn't want to go on road games. So as a general manager, he's like, okay, I'll take that, but I don't want to go on the road. So he doesn't even travel on road games. Phil Jackson missed, and I'm telling you the flat out truth, Phil Jackson missed. He missed the entire NCAA finals. He was in Los Angeles while Magic Johnson, all these other guys who are about to be GM, they're watching the finals of college basketball and NCAA. They're watching the tournament. They want to see who's rising to the top, who's doing what. Magic Johnson has yet to do anything as president of basketball operations as far as on the court, seeing how things work. But his imprint is already felt on the Lakers. His imprint was felt in the draft. You feel the Lakers going in another direction. With Phil Jackson, was his imprint felt with the New York Knicks ever? Even when they got him? He brings in a coach that he eventually has to fire because he's trying to coach from the office and bringing in a guy he could control with Derek Fisher. The Knicks was actually better with Derek Fisher, who still doesn't understand why he was fired. Which is conduct detrimental to the team, but he still doesn't understand why he was fired. But you brought this distraction to the New York Knicks. Now we have to pay Derek Fisher to go away. That's money out of the owner's pocket. Then you bring in a coach who's even more inferior, who doesn't know what he's doing. He's in over his head. And now the Knicks are worse than they've ever been. And when they were better before Phil got there, that's the real key. The Knicks were a better team before Phil Jackson got there. They were actually better off with Derek Fisher as the head coach. They had a better record. They were winning more games. That's how screwed up the Knicks are. Before this trying to trade Melo situation, and Melo needs to leave and get out of New York situation because Phil's trying to basically drown him out. Phil basically was firing himself by leaking these remarks to the press, by agreeing with him, by commenting on Carmelo Anthony in any way negatively. And Carmelo was a gentleman, never fed into the garbage, always stayed loyal to the team. And that's what you guys complain about athletes needing to do, is think more team than self. And this guy went out, played hard every night, still averaged over 20-some points a game, and you guys hated his guts. Why is that? But Phil is gone. We'll see who takes the job next. But excitement in the NBA free agency. I'm out.